Welcome to 10 Career Questions. My name is Kevin Abnell, and I'm the Executive Director of the York County Alliance for Learning. This video is part of a series of interviews where we speak to various professionals working within each of the 16 nationally recognized career clusters. The purpose of this series is to get to know people working within each career cluster and to help promote a better understanding of various career paths. Resources like this video are intended to help promote career awareness and career exploration as students move closer to making important career decisions. Today, we'll be speaking to someone who works within the manufacturing career cluster. This career cluster is focused on planning, managing, and performing the processing of materials into intermediate or final products. This cluster also includes the related professional and technical support activities such as production planning and control, maintenance and manufacturing, and process engineering. Today's interview is being presented by Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, and we sincerely thank them for their support. Thank you for being here today. Welcome to 10 Career Questions. We'll jump right in with question number 1. What is your name and who do you work for?
My name is Brandon Stanchock. I work for SWF Industrial in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania.
And Brandon, what's your job title there, and what do you do as part of that job title?
The CEO of SWF Industrial, and I keep the peace. So maintaining harmony in the company, taking down barriers, a lot of visionary stuff, long-term goals, as well as looking at the short-term projects and just, the overall.
Great. Now, the industry of manufacturing in general, how would you describe that industry, just for those that may not be that familiar with it?
Yeah, great question. So it's, taking some sort of raw material and turning it into something that, at SWF, we focus mostly on metal manufacturing, but it can be all types of things. There's engineering involved, there's project management involved, there's the actual manufacturing of the products. It's actually quite more complicated than probably people give it credit for. So there's lots of advancement inside of manufacturing itself. It's just not, as most people think, just down to welding.
Now, Brandon, how long have you worked in manufacturing, and what are some of the, before you became CEO, what are some of the past roles or job titles that you might have had throughout your career?
Yeah, so I've been at SWF for 2.5 years now. Before that, I was working in power plants all over the country. So I traveled mostly in project management to nuclear and fossil power plants. And then 2.5 years ago, came over to SWF in the vice president role. And from that point, really just ingrained myself into the company, understanding. We made some changes since that point, whether that's organizational or structural, what we're focused on. As as the market changes, we like to stay in front of that, as well as some employee focused changes just to make things better, happier, and move things progressive for the company from a manufacturing standpoint, and also from just a harmony people perspective.
Great. Well, if you don't mind me asking, just a sort of follow up to that, what was your first job out of schooling, like sort of in your professional life in manufacturing?
So it really wasn't exactly manufacturing itself. So it was more project management based for the power plant side. But inside of that, there was plenty of work with trades, right? So union and non-union, anything from laborers, carpenters, boilermakers, you name it, from a trade side. I got to work with them from a project management perspective pretty much for the first 10 to 12 years of my career until I moved over to SWF.
Great. And then in terms of your background, what kind of training or education did you go through to get to where you are right now?
So this is going to be a little weird for this video, but I was actually a biology major. And then kind of changed hands and moved into, like I said, into a more project management approach. I would say, though, from the classes and courses I took in college and really focused, any of the math skills, the Excel-based things like that for a management perspective. But from a manufacturing setup, if what we're looking for at SWF, I would say, especially this is more focused on the students. For me, the soft skills is a huge piece. So the emotional intelligence, the teamwork, the understanding, the diversity, the inclusion, all of those key words, but really understanding the substance behind them. And then comes in, to me, their 50-50 split is the skills in the manufacturing. So that would be the mechanical aptitude, the welding, anything with measuring, blueprint reading. Computer skills is a plus because, we are big proponents of promoting from within. And as you climb that ladder, computer skills are going to have to come into the picture. So certainly don't shy away from any of that. And we use Excel-based, we use Microsoft Office a lot, PowerPoint, anything like that. And then communication, that falls right into the emotional skills, being a good communicator, being responsible, being reliable, all those types of things.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it's great, by the way, to have to not necessarily say I was born and went all through my school time and knew exactly where I was going to go with this. I think it's great. And I'm speaking to someone in the hospitality industry who was actually a mathematics major, and she wanted to work in the hospitality industry. She figured that out towards the end of her college career, and there's nothing wrong with that. We were talking about personality traits and characteristics. Do you feel that's we're always we call them soft skills or essential skills, but so you feel communication is one of those big skills. Are there any other personality traits that you feel are pretty present in people that are successful in the manufacturing field?
Yeah, and I don't think it's just manufacturing field. Really, I think the soft skills kind of goes to everything. I know you probably get that answer all the time, but it's so true, especially in the day and age we're living now with so much animosity and tension. To me, the communication one's key, obviously, because with that comes the ability to talk to someone about difficult subjects, conflict resolution, being able to manage those types of situations. You don't realize that you're going to run into those way more often than you would probably believe. Along with communication is just being okay with differences. Your day's going to change constantly. It doesn't matter what field you're in, what job you're doing. Being able to kind of roll with those changes. Having a plan obviously is good, but being okay to alter that, and then being okay with the person next to you or the people around you not solving a problem the same way or not looking at a problem the same way. You got to see that as an advantage instead of a disadvantage. If you can come into any job with that type of mindset, you will be quite far ahead.
That's great. And you're right. We do hear some of those in a lot of different areas, no matter what industry we're talking about. And I think that just kind of proves the point that these are essential skills. These aren't, unfortunately, even the jobs where people think, oh, if I get this type of job, I can sit around. I don't have to deal with people. It's like, oh no, you have to deal with plenty of people. It's just, are you dealing with more internal coworkers, or are you dealing more with the public and customers and clients? So no, that's absolutely relevant. Thank you for that. Brandon, what would you say is the best part about your job?
I would say watching people's growth, and whether that be from a personality perspective, whether that be skills that they learn here, just seeing people's capabilities is huge for me, because you can push yourself. Really, you should be pushing yourself every single day. And I think if the employees aren't driving themselves for betterment, then the company's going to get stale and stand still, and that's how you get passed by. So I would encourage people to do something. I know you actually mentioned this in one of the other videos I watched, to kind of make yourself uncomfortable every day. Do something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Because I think that push and that mini drive, doing something like this, right, isn't exactly comfortable if you're not comfortable with YouTube or videoing yourself or anything like that. But getting used to these types of things, especially in the day and age we're in, but push yourself and watch that growth, I think is a huge plus for me.
Great. Now to kind of flip that a little bit, what would you say is the most challenging part about your job, or maybe just the most challenging part about manufacturing in general?
Workforce right now, from a manufacturing standpoint, the bench, there's not much of a bench with the change in focus and philosophy probably over the last 15 years, at least I think from our country's perspective. It was a very college focused itinerary, maybe from the state or whatever from the schools. And that seems to be turning around, but it's probably a little bit behind the necessity of individuals that we need right now. So resource is an issue because even if you have the growth potential and there's no one on the bench, the growth potential is stunted from a company perspective. So that's an issue we're working through right now. But there's a lot of great companies that are making apprenticeship programs. They're teaming up with local schools. So you're seeing a lot of collaboration that you probably wouldn't have seen otherwise on that front. So that's really great. Another difficulty is just human beings in general, especially in tough times, working through those times, communicating properly with the changing environments that we're going through, and making sure that you're trying to keep that harmony in the company, because happy people are efficient people, and you want to try to keep that in the focus.
That's absolutely right. Kind of a good segue into one of the last questions I had was when we're talking about career outlook and the next 1 to 5 years. I was going to ask, is it going to look like you're going to be I was going to ask if you were going to need to be hiring people in the next 1 to 5 years, but it sounds like the answer to that is a resounding yes. You are going to need to be hiring. Yeah. Manufacturing in general will need employees. Is that an accurate statement to make?
Yeah, and what's interesting is even in my years of working at power plants, with the union and the non-union side and the non-union manufacturing side I'm on now, it doesn't matter what avenue you're in. If you have mechanical aptitude, if you like to tinker with things, if you're good at figuring things out, all of that is extreme necessity for tons of companies right now, whether it's Lowe's installing cabinets for them, subcontractors, home improvements, you name it. They are at a premium, and as that generation that's currently heavy into that, as they retire, because if you probably look at the age portfolio for those types of individuals, it is quite older. And that's a scary thing, because that means that the demand's going to be very high. There's not going to be a lot of people who can do that. And it's just the prices are going to go up because the schedules are going to be full. So if you're into that and you think you would be good at that, there is going to be an absolute boom for those types of individuals for the next, who knows, 5 to 20 years. Yeah,
the outlook is pretty critical that we need to sort of backfill those positions that are going to be leaving. And there was, I agree with you. I think there was a gap for a while in the education system where there was a push for college and maybe not so much towards manufacturing, because we all know some of the stigmas of manufacturing, which are not true, at least not anymore. Right. The old, was it the dirty, dark, and dingy stigma, which isn't accurate at all. But
no, not here.
no, we're fighting a little bit of a culture fight with not so much the students, but the parents who did grow up under that that false information of, oh yeah, it's a dead end, dirty, dangerous job, and we all know that's not the case. So
once we get out of this pandemic, any parents who have any questions on what a manufacturing place can look like, SWF is a perfect example, and there's plenty in this area. York is ripe with awesome manufacturing companies. So proud to be in the area.
I got a chance to tour your facility, and you're absolutely right. He's not just saying that because he's the CEO. So on that note, again, keeping in mind that the target sort of audience for this video would be high school students, what's the one piece of advice you would give a high school student who's looking to get into manufacturing?
I would say, along with, like we talked about before, along with the skills that are focused on manufacturing, realize that there is a big world outside of, just coming in and wanting to weld. So never say no is really the way I started my career. So when anybody asks you to do something, to get into something, obviously that's safe and quality and all those things put aside. But when it's challenging, when it may be a tough project, or it may be something you're uncomfortable with, dive into those, because those are the moments you're going to learn the most. They're going to be difficult. They're going to be tough. There's going to be sleepless times, and, you're going to be stressed. But along with that, you'll grow so much farther. And, we only have a certain window that we work in. And if you're constantly pushing during that window, you're going to end up way farther ahead than maybe some other people who stayed comfortable during that same time period. So I just try to always never say no in those, tough situations. And I think there's a lot to gain from that.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing your story and some of this information about manufacturing. Just want to say thank you. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, no problem. Great. We can connect. Thanks, Brandon.
Yep. See you.